Hello everyone, today we will study chapter 20 of the book of Luke. It was 3 days before he was going to die. So, chapter 20, Jesus was in the city of Jerusalem and he taught many beautiful lessons to his disciples and followers. Let's all dive into the passage, chapter 20. The authority of Jesus questioned, chapter 20, verse 1. One day, as Jesus was teaching the people in the temple courts and proclaiming the good news, the chief priests and the teachers of the law, together with the elders, came up to him. These people were not invited to Jesus' congregation. However, they invaded Jesus. They intervened in Jesus' gathering. And they asked, verse 2, tell us by what authority you are doing these things. They said, who gave you this authority? He replied, I will also ask you a question. Tell me, John's baptism, was it from heaven or of human origin? Jesus plainly and sharply asked why, where did John's baptism come from? Where did John's baptism come from? So Jesus asked, was it from heaven or of human origin? They discussed it among themselves and said, if we say from heaven, he will ask, why didn't you believe him? But if we say of human origin, all the people will stone us because they are persuaded that John was a prophet. They couldn't say either ways because from heaven, Jesus definitely will ask back, why didn't you believe? Why didn't you obey? And from human origin, they were in danger to be stoned to death by the crowd. 7. So they answered, we don't know where it was from. Jesus said, neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things. The parable of the tenant. He went on to tell the people this parable. A man planted a vineyard, rented it to some farmers, and went away for a long time. At harvest time, he sent a servant to the tenant so they would give him some of the fruit of the vineyard. But the tenant beat him and sent him away empty-handed. He sent another servant, but the one also they beat and treated shamefully and sent away empty-handed. He sent still a third. They wounded him and threw him out. Then the owner of the vineyard said, what shall I do? I will send my son whom I love. Perhaps they will respect him. But when the tenant saw him, they talked the matter over. This is the heir. They said, let's kill him, and inheritance will be ours. So they threw him out of the vineyard and killed him. What then will the owner of the vineyard do to them? He will come and kill those tenants and give the vineyard to others. When the people heard this, they said, God forbid. When the people heard this, they said, God forbid. Jesus looked directly at them and asked them, then what is the meaning of which is written? which the stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Everyone who falls on that stone will be broken to pieces. Anyone on whom it falls will be crushed. The teachers of the law and the chief priests looked for a way to arrest him immediately because they knew he had spoken this parable against them. But they were afraid of the people. They couldn't touch Jesus because they afraid of the crowd who followed and believed in Jesus' word. Paying taxes to Caesar. Verse 20. Keeping a close watch on him. Keeping a close watch on him. They sent spies who pretended to be sincere. They hoped to catch Jesus in something he said, so that they might hand him over to the power and authority of the governor. So the spies questioned him, Teacher, I know that you speak and teach what is right, and that you do not show partially, but teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. Is it right for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not? This question is regarding very sensitive political matters involved, because paying taxes is so much sensitive to the people of Israel, to the Roman Empire as well. So kind of if it was dealt naively, simply, it would cause a lot of trouble. So the person who was in the listeners brought this delicate question to catch Jesus. So we can see how Jesus responded. 23. He saw through their duplicity and said to them, Show me a denarius whose image and inscription are on it. Jesus. They replied, He said to them, Then give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. They were unable to trap him in what he had said there in public, and astonished by his answer, they became silent. They couldn't darely come to Jesus and ask such things, because Jesus' wisdom was beyond their expectation. The resurrection and marriage. Another question was brought to Jesus. 27. Some of the Sadducees who say there is no resurrection came to Jesus with a question. Teacher, they said, Moses wrote for us that if a man's brother dies, leaves a wife but no children, the man must marry the widow and raise up offspring for his brother. Now there were 7 brothers. The first one married a woman and died childless. The second and then the third married her in the same way. The 7 died, leaving no children. Finally, the woman died too. Now then, at the resurrection, whose wife will she be, since the 7 were married to her? Jesus replied that the people of this age marry and are given in marriage, but those who are considered worthy of taking part in the age to come, in the end, in the resurrection from the dead, will neither marry nor be given in marriage. Jesus clearly says, in the heaven there will be no marriage at all. 36. And they can no longer die, for they are like the angels. They are God's children, since they are children of the resurrection. But in the account of the burning bush, even Moses showed that the dead rise, for he calls the Lord the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. For to him all are alive. Can you imagine? To him all are alive. We are not going to die before God, because God is the creator who created the heavens and the earth and mankind. So we must live before God, not before human, because God is the God of the living. So we think if we die today, everything will be terminated. But this is not truth. This is not true. We cannot die before God. God will judge for what we have done. We have to live beautiful life. We have to live with a trembling life before God. 39. Some of the teachers of the law responded, "Well said, teacher." And no one dared to ask him any more questions. Whose son is the Messiah? Then Jesus said to them, "Why is it said that Messiah is the son of David?" David himself declares in the book of Psalms, "The Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet." David calls him Lord. How then can he be his son? Messiah is not the son of David. Even though he came through the line of David is not son of David. He is the Son of God who came from heaven, warning against the teachers of the Lord. 45. While all the people were listening, Jesus said to his disciples, Beware of the teachers of the law. They like to walk around in flowing robes and love to be greeted with respect in the marketplace and have the most important seat in the synagogues. Jesus is pointing out the religious leaders, hypocrisy of the religious leaders, and the place of honor at banquet. They devour widows' houses for a show, make lengthy prayers. This man will be punished most severely. Jesus defined that those people who live with hypocrisy, and even he was called as religious leaders, they lived no difference. They lived out of God's direction, out of God's direction. This man will be punished most severely. So this is the conclusion. We must live before God, who is living and judging, watching over. Thank you for listening to Isaac Bible Class. Bye.